Okay, there we go. Recording started. I shouldn't be trusted to start the recording. I will not remember, by the way, to stop the recording. So somebody help me remember that when we're done. Welcome, everybody. I know we're on the last day, the home stretch, and I appreciate folks for joining today. We have a discussion today. Probably won't take a whole hour, which is a good thing. I think we've got sessions starting again right in exactly an hour. I might be able to give you a little bit of a break in between. Of course, it all depends on your questions, doesn't it? The questions, we do have the chat in the Pathable system. So hopefully by now you've all experienced that. That's the screen I'm going to have up. I'm not going to have the Zoom chat window up. I just don't have the real estate on my second screen. So that will be how we handle this. It doesn't appear like we're going to have a huge number of folks. So that being the case, I would offer this. If you have a question that you want to ask, I'm going to allow you to just take yourself off mute and ask your question. I'd hate for you to have to wait till the end and run out of time or forget your question or what that might be. So I'll still have the chat window open, but given a smaller audience, I think it'll be just fine to go ahead and have you take yourself off mute. Okay, so that's my offer to you. Anytime you want, we can make that happen. All right, with that introduction, I'm going to get started. I want to talk to you about one of the SpearMC solutions that's out there, PeopleSoft specific segregation of duties analyzer. So this is a tool we've built that sits on top of your PeopleSoft system to help you in analyzing security issues or if you have internal controls that are tied to segregation of duties, to determine if you have any existing segregation of duties issues that either need a mitigating control or can be remediated through system changes. All right, so that's me, an older picture, and a younger version of me. That is me, a vice president. That's my email address, and that's my real cell phone number. And I encourage you to reach out to me in either format. If you reach out on cell, you might want to text me first, because like most of us, I've experienced a flurry of robocalls, and so I've had to switch my phone to only answer if you are in my contacts list. If you text me, let me know who you are. I will add you to my contacts list, and then we can talk in person. If you try to call before that, it'll still go to voicemail. If you leave a voicemail, I'll answer. And then, of course, the email is an option as well. I'm out on LinkedIn. You can go find me, get connected that way. There's no shortage of ways to get connected in the world anymore. Here we are in the third full day. This list, it may look like the entire agenda for Reconnect, but this is just the list of presentations that SpearMC is presenting this 3-day event. There are 17. We're really thrilled to be a part of this. We have deep PeopleSoft expertise, and I hope you've seen some of our presentations. You do have access to the recordings. And so if you've missed any of them, I'm not going to specifically identify any, except for maybe a few that have my name on it. You might want to go back and replay the recording of my sessions. But I don't want to tell you I'm the only one you should do that for. If you've missed any of them, go take a look, take a listen. I would love for you to see what offerings we have besides the one we're going to be talking about today, segregation of duties. All right, I'm going to fly through the SpearMC slides. This is us, coast to coast. Where Gartner recognized our PeopleSoft expertise in helping customers move onto Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. That's 2 years in a row now that we've been recognized by Gartner for our expertise in the PeopleSoft area, and in particular, how we can help move customers from their on-premise data centers to the cloud, sort of making your PeopleSoft experience a SaaS-like environment. SpearMC is SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We achieved that earlier this year. This is that certification that back when I was an internal auditor and an external auditor, we called it SAS 70. It essentially validates SpearMC's internal controls from a data protection and security perspective, and is relied upon for many of our customers to be able to engage with us in helping you move onto the cloud or hosting or managed services. Any of the experiences that you can get from SpearMC are enhanced through this SOC 2 Type 2 certificate. Now, what industries do we focus on? It turns out we focus on the industries that focus on PeopleSoft. So if you look across the board, healthcare, financial services, higher education, public sector, sort of the one thing these all have in common is that they are service-oriented. And it seems that over the past 25 years, service-oriented organizations tend to migrate to the PeopleSoft ERP platform. And so that's why, because SpearMC is PeopleSoft-centric, our industries that we serve are also those that tend to be PeopleSoft-centric themselves. So you look at our experience or our services across the board, everything branches from our deep PeopleSoft expertise, hosting on OCI. This is what got us our Gartner recognition 2 years in a row. Oracle Guided Learning is a product. It's a platform that is not PeopleSoft. It's an Oracle SaaS product, but we are the only authorized reseller of OGL for Oracle PeopleSoft customers. So if you are looking to put guided learning in, perhaps replace UPK, or maybe you never got it and you're looking for a better way of streamlining your business process with guided support, look at OGL. Cameron, I think, I'm going to flip back to my list of Oracle Guide. Yeah, in 1 hour, Cameron McClure is doing a demonstration of that tool. I highly recommend you sit in on that. If you don't have time, he did do a use case for where was it? OGL. One of these lists have Cameron's session that was recorded, and you can go back and play that. So highly recommend you either attend his training session or demo in an hour, or go back and listen to the replay of his previous session. Kibana Analytics, I think we're all getting excited about this, and everyone who is a PeopleSoft customer has this, owns this, and can take advantage of this. The more current you are on People Tools, the better off you'll be in adopting the Kibana Analytics and the delivered visualizations that are coming out in each and every image. Okay, and that's what we do. The leading, or I should say the main service line that is growing the fastest at SpearMC is our managed services service line. We have customers that hire us simply to augment their testing in order to stay current. We do that by building out automated test scripts and a tool you also own, PeopleSoft Test Framework, and we do testing for you, and we make it easy for you to simply evaluate the results of the testing rather than the mechanical exercise of creating your test events and scenarios and doing the test scripts. You'd simply take the results of the service we provide, and you evaluate the results, and hopefully that frees up your resources to critique that test rather than have to create and execute over several testing cycles. Hosting, infrastructure hosting, primarily through our partner Oracle, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We do have some customers that have chosen to move on to Microsoft Azure or AWS. So we do help our customers in doing those platform migrations as well. OCI is our preferred partner, but we understand that many organizations simply have alignment with other providers, and so we have the ability to support you in any cloud platform that you're looking for. And then technical functional support. This extends to module implementation, even upgrades across the board. These are the services that we provide in managed services, and that's it for the About SpearMC commercial. Now what I want to do is talk about what you're here to talk about, and that is the Segregation of Duties Analyzer. And what this is it's a bolt-on solution that SpearMC built. We understand the structure of security in PeopleSoft because we're PeopleSoft experts. I will say this is a PeopleSoft segregation of duties analyzer only. So we don't go cross product, although we can go cross pillar if you implemented unified navigation. More on that to come in a second. But what we've built is this SOD Analyzer toolset based on our understanding of the PeopleSoft security structure. Okay, if you are familiar with, I apologize for making this more basic, but in PeopleSoft, there's essentially the pages that you have access to, permission lists, which grant those pages to roles, and then roles are assigned to individual users. Okay, super basic. So page, permission list, role, and then user. And our segregation of duties analyzer gets down to the page level. Our rule sets are page versus page, because these are the things that should not coexist in or should be evaluated as a risk if they do coexist. It's the page access that creates the violation. Okay, so our rule set, and you'll see this in a second, is based on comparing one page versus another. And what we believe and we understand through industry best practices should not coexist together. We've built over 500 pre-built rules. These span, there's about, I'm going to say 60%, 300 that apply to the financials environment, and another 200 that apply to the HCM pillar. We don't have any cross-pillar rules that are pre-built yet. We haven't experienced many customers that have deployed unified navigation, and so we have not built any in our library. But we are interested in working with you if you've got a situation where you'd like to work with us to build those out. We'd be more than happy to hear from you and pilot that with you. The rules themselves come delivered, but they're very, very flexible and configurable. So you can take the rule set that we've got and add to them, maintain them, delete them. They're yours to do with whatever you choose. But it is easy to manage them. And like any other piece of PeopleSoft, we had to make it a configuration set so that, which is, by the way, effective dated, so that you can maintain that to meet the appropriate control sets that you're looking to deploy within your organization. So I've said this a few times now. If you were looking to go HCM to financials, you do have to have unified navigation deployed. It doesn't work with the old. I forgot the name of the application, the Interaction Hub, I think it was. That does not work with our tool. Our tool only works if you have true unified navigation turned on, because what we need to be able to do, and you'll see this in the demo or in the recorded screenshots, we need to be able to get at those pages when we set up the rules, and that is enabled through unified navigation if you want the cross-platform rules to be set up. Simple to set up, run, and report. Now I'm getting salesy. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to allow you to take yourself off mute if you have any questions at this point. I'll pause for 2 seconds. That was your chance. Okay, on to the overview. All right, we've built this in a fluid platform. So if you aren't yet fluid, well, I suggest you get there. We don't have an SOD analyzer that is built to support the classic views, but I will say we do include in our rule set the classic pages. Okay, the setup, the maintenance, and the evaluation, all done in a fluid dashboard that we simply label the SOD analyzer. And this is where you go to define your rules on the homepage. You run the rules engine. Okay, so this is a process that needs to be run on occasion to update the table set, and then the analytics and how you evaluate the violations that may have come out of the process when you run the rules engine. Okay, we also have over here in the nav bar the navigation for the same exact set of activities. So let's start with the first, which is the setup. It is effective dated, so you can have multiple rows. You would only have one row that would be active at a time, but this will allow you to create future rule sets if, say, you plan on implementing a new module in the near future. It's not live yet, and so you're planning for these rule sets when the go live date occurs, or if you have new let's say audit findings that point out specific rules that you had not yet built into your rules engine. So these are all effective dated. You understand, if you built anything in PeopleSoft in configuration, how the effective dating function works in PeopleSoft. When we apply the rules, remember I said we're looking at pages. I don't care about permission lists, and I don't care about roles that have permission lists. Well, I shouldn't say I don't care. That's not what causes the segregation of duties. The segregation of duties conflict is when you have inappropriate page 1 versus page 2 access. Okay, so our setup is page 1. What is the rule? What is the module? What is the component menu path? Okay, and then what is your access mode, right? So when you set up security, you give a particular page, add, update, correct history, which is a no-no almost always, although I get it, update display or display only. And you might know display only isn't actually one of the access options. It's a checkbox, isn't it? And so that actually came into play when we were working with Fairview Health, University of Minnesota Health System. We realized that we needed to exclude the display only. We were showing that as a low risk violation, but every violation they had was because of display only. When we fixed the review to eliminate or remove, I should say, any violation if one of the 2 pages was display only, they got a clean audit. It was fantastic. Or I shouldn't say their audit was clean, because I can't say that. They ran the rules engine, and the results were the very few individuals that they knew and already had mitigating controls in place for those with exceptions. They were in small locations, they were administrators, and so forth. All right, you get it. So page 1, we're going to say what is the menu path all the way. We also are able to accommodate the fluid versions, that sort of hidden CREF path to the fluid pages. And then we define at this level, what is the severity if this page has a conflict with page 2, okay? So the severity, high, medium, or low, can drive your attention to which violations you should pick to remediate first. okay? We have a few, probably in our 500 that we provide, I think we're maybe super conservative, shall I say, and we have many that are probably high that you would consider medium or low. We even have a few out there that you might think aren't security violations whatsoever. That's beautiful. You can take our delivered rule set and hit the minus button and take that out of your rule set altogether. All right, so once we have page 1 and page 2, then we take a look at the, we've built out our rules, we add the rules. If I were doing a live demo, what you would see is when I hit the plus button, it actually fills everything in from the previous row, okay? And this is because we might want to oscillate between the page access. Let me go back. Oh, I can't. It'll. When we say add or update display or display only, correct history, right? That you get one of those per row. And so if we insert the sequential rows, but just change one thing to make that unique, we can have different levels of severity. If you have display, update display on both, or if you have correct history on one, you can choose your severity, and that gives you the flexibility, and it makes it easier to add your rows and have various different scenarios play out. So we look at our modules. Oh, by the way, the list of modules is every PeopleSoft module there is. It does not check to see if you have them in your installation options as turned on. And so if you are hoping to implement a module, you could actually ahead of time in your production environment set up your rule set, and then when that module is turned on, your rules will be there. This is important because if you take the 500 or so pre-built rules that SpearMC provides, if you don't own one of the modules, we didn't want any issues to happen with that pre-built library. And so they'll be there, they simply won't be active because you would have no security set up for any of those existing pages, okay? So it is important that that we allow the listing of any module in the FSCM pillar or HCM pillar to show up. Okay. I think I might have belabored this point a bit much, but once you've got this, you've got the SpearMC pre-built rules, you can add, subtract, do whatever you want to the rule sets, maybe create a new effective dated row and inactivate the ones that we deliver so that by the time you're ready to run the rules engine for the first time, you're running the rules that you believe are appropriate for your organization. Once you've run the process, I don't have screenshots of that. It is a batch process that is, there are no parameters. It simply create the SOD violations. What it will do is it will look across every access granted to a role permissionless page and compare the pages, and it will tell you whether you have violations. So, here we have an analysis. I'm going to say we ran it. So in your mind, you have to imagine we've run the rules engine, okay? And now we're ready to look at the violations. We're ready to analyze those violations. I'm going to just do a global search to see what there are. And up it pops in our dashboard. And we have 16,085 violations in the first run of our engine. That's a lot, folks. That's a lot of violations. We may even take a look and notice over here, I got this role named administrator that's showing up, okay, with all pages. So we may need to do something about this in a production environment. Now, here's the deal. The good news is this particular screenshot was not a demo environment. It was a development environment. And so we expect that there are a lot of users that have obnoxiously large. You've seen the menu path for if you log on as a VP1-like user. Of course, that's going to generate issues, isn't it? So, but in the real world, this might happen to you. This might happen to you. And so what do we do about it? Well, let's think scenario one. So it could be that two pages are in conflict with each other on a permission list. And so what this means is that every role that has that permission list, and I don't know how you've designed your security in your organization. I've seen some that do one for one, and I'm not here to tell you how to design security, but what I can tell you is many organizations will create permission lists that they apply to more than one role. And of course, users typically are given more than one role. So you could have users that have multiple roles, many of which might have a permission list that causes a conflict. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is find out how many permission lists out there exist that cause the violation themselves. In other words, the permission list itself is embedded with two pages that shouldn't coexist. Okay, this is sort of the root cause of many issues. And so what we do here is we have query sets and evaluation sets for you to take a look at these particular violations. And what you need to do is look at the rule set that's being violated. You look at the query that produces the results of the permissionless violations, and you determine if there are permission lists that have multiple pages that should not coexist. And when you figure out the pages that should not coexist, you split them. You create two permission lists, and you split them so that you no longer experience those pages within the permission list. Okay, so our drill down will give you the details on how to do that. We've got queries that are pre-built on the analytics page that will show you permission lists with violations, roles with violations, and then ultimately individual users with violations. If you've got roles, okay, so let's assume that you go through and you correct all of the permission lists that are generating your permission list violations. And I've cleaned that up, and now I should only have violations that are caused by an individual having two roles that should not coexist. Okay, so this is the role to role, but it's only showing up because they have two roles that have permission lists which contain pages that should not coexist, right? It's always about the pages, but in this case, we've drilled down and gotten to the point where we're looking at roles instead of permission lists, okay? So here, same deal, we've got that query, the same query with the conflicts, but this one is for the role conflicts. We compare the roles, and we decide what permission lists in those roles are creating the two pages that shouldn't coexist. And we either refine those permission lists, or we may be required to create two separate roles instead of one that contains both of these actions, okay? I think it's best to look at the individual permission lists and determine if one of them can be removed or can be streamlined. Perhaps it's just a page in that permission list. Everything else can be fine. Or perhaps it's a page that should be flipped to display only instead of add update, okay? So you're drilling down through the role to roles and you're finding the issues there. And now finally, we've got, so I'm sorry, that was one role. Sorry, that was a single role that had multiple permission lists that were causing the violation, okay? So you look at the role, you figure out which two permission lists are in conflict, and fix it at the permission list level, or you split the role. Finally, once those are fixed, we look at the users, the individual user. And at this point, we're looking at users who have two roles that should not coexist, because we know the permission list is not the issue. We fixed that. We know the individual roles are not the issue. We fixed individual roles with violations. So now we're left with true user violations that have two roles, which contain permission lists, which contain two pages that should not coexist. So we look at that view, we drill down at the user level, we determine, is it two roles that should be split? Is it maybe a permission list that we've granted to those roles that need to be refined further? These are the individuals, or it may be that you find this acceptable, that the roles that they're breaking, the users, might be of low priority, or it might be that it is unavoidable and you have manual detective controls in place that mitigate the SOD violations. It happens when you have known and identified violations. As long as you set up and follow mitigating controls, your auditors should be able to follow that and agree, as long as those mitigating controls are in place. Okay, I may be near the end. So these are the results that come out. I showed you the results in the online pages for review, but there are queries that we built. In fact, those pages are driven by these queries. You can run these queries out to Excel and choose to analyze and filter with the query. I will say probably most of our customers have chosen to do that, at least at the beginning, when they're up at the highest level and they're looking at permission list violations. You have all of these at your disposal. It is nice to be able to produce these once you've got a clean pass as evidence to your auditors that you've run the process, you've done your analysis, and you've produced your output. Anything on the final report should include a mitigating control that you have in place. I talked fast. We did build pivot grids in our rule analysis. We've not yet, and this is a next feature that we plan to do, we've not yet included embedded related actions. We're big believers that you should always, if there's actionable work in your dashboards, you should build the ability to do that action straight from the dashboard. So that's coming. But we do have the pivot grids out there for the analytics. We're moving to a Kibana platform. The performance on these, as you can imagine, if you have a lot of violations, if you run this in a non-production environment where you've got a bunch of all pages users, you're going to get a volume that is almost, well, I've seen hundreds of thousands of rows of violations. And when you get to that point, the pivot grid performance just degrades. We think that Kibana is going to be the answer for that. But we've got them, they're there, and it's all a part of the overall package of our SOD violation toolset. Let's see. Now I'm at the end already. I am just over half an hour in. And I beg you for your questions. You may unmute yourself. Even if you just want to say hi and make me feel like I'm not talking to a blank box. You're not talking. I am also monitoring the chat window. But I see I see two chats in, hold on. How long does the process run typically? Yes, Well, it takes about, depending on how many modules, depending on your rule sets that you have, the process actually runs as long as it builds a table of your violations. Okay, so it logs every violation. So it depends. It depends on how many violations you have. In a production environment, if you have done a great job with your security design, and let's say you only have 2,000, it's going to run quickly. It's going to run in less than 10 minutes. We ran it for almost 3 hours in a dev in PeopleSoft's demo environment. We got a hilarious number of violations in that. It took 3 hours and our pivot grids wouldn't open with the details. We could still run the queries. We could still produce the output. We could see the online violations, but the pivot grids would not work with that number. I think it was over 200,000 violations that it created. So 10 minutes. If you have a normal violation, let me put it this way, the longer it does take, the more you should be worried that you've got violations that are filling up the table. More questions. That was a good one. Still waiting. All right, we're shy today. We're very shy. It's the end of the conference, but we're still a little bit shy. That's okay. I have no more to discuss with you. I will point you to the other presentations that SpearMC is doing. I'm going to scroll back up. I can't remember how many more we have anymore. Let's see, where was it? There you are. Let's see, we are here. Oh, we only have 2 more. And one of them's mine, best practices in match exception processing here at 1:15. We've got one at 12:15, Oracle Guided Learning. That is a demonstration. Stop by and see both of them. Thanks for joining. Out in the chat, the link to the evaluation form is out there. Please take time to give us the evaluation. Let us know if you think this is a valuable session. If you are interested in learning more about, if you could talk to SpearMC about how to obtain and work with SpearMC to get the SOD Analyzer into your environment, let me know. I'm going to flip back to my contact info. That's my email. That's my cell phone. Reach out any way you choose. Okay. I do thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great remaining part of your conference. Take care, everyone.